Hey everyone, this is Bill McDonald, the reading and writing doctor, and today is the moment that you've all been waiting for. I had been sharing an idea that would help some of you kind of start from the known and build to the unknown by taking a question with a multiple choice answer, covering up the answers with a blank white sheet of paper, and then having your students take the question to the ER, where before they answer it, that they go look at the evidence that helps respond to the question, E of ER, write out that evidence on the blank sheet of paper, and then be able to respond to the question uh, using that evidence and their own words to kind of infer or to read between the lines about what, in this case, I'm going to show you the question in two different ways. One, how to do it with multiple choice and practice an open-ended structure and compare it to the real answer. And number two, how to do a slightly different version of the question with short answer and still be able to go to the evidence and then come up with an answer based on a more specific question that I asked. So let me model for you. Sometimes it's important to show, not tell certain things so that the visual learners can see. So here you see I have question number 26 from my 3rd through 8th grade practice tests. And they're all based on uh, questions that I made up with different passages and genres from some of the most difficult questions in the last several years. And this one happens to be 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So if you were to look at question number 7 from the 2019 3rd grade test, you would see that it's a readiness standard reporting category 2, that it's student expectation 3.8B, and that 77% of the kids got it correct. In other words, 1 out of every 4 kids missed it. So the idea is cover up the answers like I have here. I've already written out the responses to save time on the white paper. But I wanted to see if they write the question, because the test is online. You don't want them to get away with hardly doing anything on the online test. So they're going to have to practice doing their strategies and numbering the questions so that you can see that they're actually doing their strategies throughout the test, and that even if they go from question to question online, when their notes disappear and they're highlighting, you can't see it anymore. At least you can see on paper what they're doing, and throughout the school year, you can give them a grade based on uh, the test questions correct percentage minus the points that you feel that they should lose for not doing the strategies, or you can give bonus points for doing the strategies. So the question, what we'll call the red light, is what do, so everything is a who, what, when, where, why, which, or how. Paragraphs 8 through 11, that's my where, show about Jonathan's friends. And so your kids have to make sure they understand the question is not asking about Jonathan. So the subject, if I was to make a little mini stickman here, Jonathan's friends, that's what I kind of did with my paper here. All right. So instead of going straight to the answer, then we should go straight to the evidence. So it says where to go. And so what I'd recommend that you do is, because it asks for paragraphs 8 through 11, they can open the section that's being asked about with red because the answer to the question is going to be somewhere in there. And I put question 3 because in my online practice test, I just have it practicing one question at a time. And then you see that on the very next page, I have the closed section with arrows pointing that the question is asking about some paragraphs before this. And as you saw on the other page, some paragraphs before it. So we're only going to highlight the words, phrases, or sentences that have to do with Jonathan's friends. So paragraph 8. And you would have your yellow highlighter ready because if red is the question, red is the answer and the question, then the yellow is the evidence that you would use. When Jonathan finally opened his eyes, all he could do for the next few minutes was stare ahead like a statue. Since the question was not about Jonathan, but only his friends, we would not use that as evidence. His friends were completely oblivious to him. Okay, that's something that you can say about them because that vocabulary word is pretty high level. Your kids would probably need to be responsible enough to look it up. And so for a point plus or a point minus, if you don't see the word oblivious on the strategy paper with its definition, at least a brief definition, then you should either take away points if they didn't do it or add some bonus points if they did. They were so ecstatic emotions, they could barely control themselves. So what we're already seeing is, what does it say about them? Uh, they get excited. Okay, they're on this ride, and we're basically fast forwarding to the paragraphs that are being asked about. So whatever it is that they're doing, a log ride on Splash Mountain. Okay, let me show you. Splash Mountain, Terror Turns Terrific. That's the title, and the title helps you understand the topic. It, the name of the ride, the negative emotion, transitioning to a positive emotion. So because the main focus of the story is about Jonathan, it's about his emotions turning from terror, emotion, heart, to terrific, opinion, head. Title, topic. Okay. So that was paragraph 8. So then what your kids can do is say in their notes, they're oblivious to Jonathan, they're ecstatic, and they're out of control. Okay. It says that they kind of get distracted, that they get excited about things that they're doing, and oblivious when they look it up will mean that they're not even paying attention to Jonathan in this case. And so that would be the first one. So then when we read the next paragraph, we highlight it because that is one of Jessica's friends and Jonathan's friends, and they asked about Jonathan's friends, plural. And so since he's got 5 friends mentioned in this paragraph, in this section, we should probably find out about all of them, not some of them, because if you only write about one of the friends, you're not responding to the specific demands of the question. Jessica, friend, subject, was yelling, screaming, shouting, "Ready or not, Splash Mountain, here we come." And so whenever you have your kids noticing that there's dialogue, they can have uh, comma, quotation, capital. Whatever comes out of her mouth, closing, exclamation point, and quotation. So basically, since many kids have dimples before and after their mouth, you can say it's sort of like in English using uh, your opening and closing dimples, or in Spanish, your opening and closing dimples, all called guiones. And so if you're going to quote text, you can have opening and closing quotations, or you can use guiones in Spanish, or you can just quote the evidence without having to use the quotations, and you can even paraphrase it. So paragraph 9, and then I slide down on my paper and say, okay, Jessica yelling at the mountain, paragraph 9. This part is going to allow me to say, okay, where is the evidence and what is the evidence that reveals something about Jonathan's friends? So then I turn the page, got 2 more paragraphs to look at. Even though the ride was still ascending slowly, Dan and Chris already had their arms above their heads and were giving high fives to each other over and over. So, uh, in this case, one of the things they were doing was independent from each other, just putting your hands in the air. So that's kind of like showing their bravery. Um, and I think that not all of them are showing bravery like the one that we just finished writing. Um, they're ecstatic and out of control. That doesn't necessarily mean they're brave. So I can't assume that everybody's brave just because they're not hanging onto the bars. So giving high fives to each other, that's a connection. And so these guys, their actions are using their hands and their arms to show their excitement. They're not paying attention to the others. They're all in different logs. And they're only paying attention to each other just for a brief moment as they give the high fives. Okay. So what I would write there, what's my evidence? Dan and Chris, hands in air, high fives, just keeping track of the evidence. Where is it at? What is the evidence? That kind of shows about their personality. And the last one, Yvonne and Janine. Just by the way, I have 2 brothers named Dan and Chris. I have 2 sisters named Yvonne and Janine, and a couple of friends named Jessica. So that's why I used them in my story. They were laughing and giggling so much that it drowned out the noise of the clicking coming from the rails. So they're excited also, but what they do, which the show don't tell for them, is laughing and giggling loudly. So I would make sure that I go to my paper to prove to my teacher that I am looking at the evidence. So Yvonne and Judy laughing, giggling loudly. So to practice uh, short answer, then you come down here and respond. Well, they're all very excited. They allow their emotions to react more to the ride than each other or Jonathan. So any answer that that fits that uh, would be the correct answer because that's what basically happened. So what we'll do before we look at the part 2 of how to turn this into an actual short answer is let's just see what answer is closest to what we came up with. They really care about Jonathan. Well, if you're oblivious to Jonathan in that section, that does not show that you care about somebody that you're not even paying attention to. When they get excited about something, yes, because they, as in all of them, what about it? They focus more on that than each other. Okay, more as in most of the time. So in this case, the only time that there was focus on each other was when Chris and Dan were giving high fives. So that one could be the answer. They all have similar personalities and react to things the same way. No, because every single action and reaction was different. So this part would make this one true, and the reactions the same way is also untrue. They are really worried about Jonathan. Okay. Well, caring about him and worrying about him are two different things. But in this part of the story, when we fast forwarded the storytelling remote to paragraphs 8 through 11, nothing is mentioned about being worried for Jonathan. They were oblivious to Jonathan, so Jonathan doesn't even enter their mind. And so the best answer, based on the evidence that we chose, would be letter G. So now that you've done all that, you could write out, oh, when they get excited about something, and we already know it's Jonathan's friends. So if you feel like you have to say, uh, what original word, what what original words are in the question, and you want to have your kids use a lot of those words, you can say, Jonathan's friends are, when Jonathan's friends get really excited about something, they focus more on that than each other. That is the best answer. Drop something there. So a cool activity from the binder is a teachable moment to say, okay, because they're happy, they're thrilled, they're excited, then you would look for different synonyms because the word ecstatic was there. You could use thrilled, you could use lots of different things, because what I want to do now for you is just say, how do I answer a question? Because what you can also tell your kids, instead of using the word ecstatic that was inside the the evidence, you can go to my binder in the opinion and emotion section and say, okay, well, there's ecstatic right there. What other word could I use? Because what other word could be used? Because you don't have to have the exact words. You can say something else. So you can say, Jonathan's friends were so elated about the ride that they were focusing more on that than each other with their actions and reactions. And so the picture set basically has bunch a bunch of people, this little collage, doing different things and reacting different ways, possibly saying things, thinking things. And then you can come down to the bottom, and I did this with I think about 10 or 12 different emotions. And you can write down little phrases that show what these characters are doing to express their emotions. They even have some animals that look happy. Okay? So that would be how I would do it in part one. Okay. So when you are switching to actual evidence, I want you to make sure your kids do things in an order that makes sense. And so this is an example, because all of you in the Crest online training received several monkeys, you can color code the different sections. And I want you to notice here, I intentionally put them out of order. It would make more sense, since Jessica was in paragraph 9. These are Jonathan's friends. Then you can color code and say, okay, I'm going to use Jessica's pair as green. What was she doing? She was yelling to a mountain, not to Yvonne, Janine, Dan, Chris, or Jonathan, but just to the mountain. But what I recommend that you do is say to your kids, uh, who's on first? The Bible says, let everything be done decently and in order. So, what you'd want to make sure that you do is have your kids go ahead and write the evidence in the order that it's shown. So, the second part would be Dan and Chris. What are they doing? They're using their hands to express their emotions, hands in the air, and giving high fives. So, they're not giving high fives to anybody else. They're just giving it to each other, and their hands are up in the air, showing their excitement and anticipation for the ride that's about to happen. Yvonne and Janine are going to be the blue monkeys, the blue section of the question that's being asked. They're laughing and giggling. Okay. It doesn't say they're laughing and giggling with each other. So again, they're focused more on the event itself than each other. So um, when you switch to short answer, I basically call it the WWEE. What is the question? And because all short answers are going to have the word prompt, you're going to say, you think of it this way: the purpose of the response PR is open ended, and so it's not going to be multiple choice M. So you're going to think about the prompt P as the topic. What are they asking about? Jonathan's friends, and I'm going to ask my question a little bit differently in the online response. Uh, so I'll take you out of my document camera and take you into how I have it on the online practice. So let me go ahead and slide this up or down so I can, there it is. Okay. So since I've already written my evidence in my notes, then I'm going to be able to use that. Uh, and so if you notice what I did here, I got a little bit more specific when I asked the question in an open-ended format. So it says, and there's the word prompt because it's always going to be open-ended. What do paragraphs, the what is my who, what, when, where, why, which, or how, paragraphs 8 through 11, that's my where, reveal about their personalities. And we said that personalities is when you look at a person or people, the ality is their, what are their actions and reactions? What do they like and love? What's going on inside their head? What's going on? The T, my notes, my cheat notes. Um, The T is what transitions happen? Uh, are there any changes in their personality throughout it? What's going on inside their heart? And the E, uh, are they expressing those emotions with words or telling them with actions? And the S is personalities is what are their senses? What are they letting you see, hear, taste, touch, or what are they saying possibly? And uh, sometimes you can use salsa because we want to, when we graduate to the extended essay response, be able to use my vocabulary. So I'm going to be able to use those notes that I took on paper to be able to answer this question in a very simple way. What is it real about them? I'm going to write that the simple way would be uh, John, and what I'm doing is looking up there at the question so that I don't make a mistake on spelling because it's right there in front of me. Jonathan's friends get so excited about the ride that they allow their emotions to react more to the ride than other. Keep in mind that they are not supposed to take off points on um, the conventions as long as the students write in a way that the reader can phonetically follow. So then I'm going to go look at my evidence that I wrote. I'll start simple. In paragraph 8, comma, they don't even pay attention to Jonathan. Notice that's me paraphrasing because they are so, and I could use any word that I want. I could use ecstatic. They're so um, thrilled that their emotions take complete control. I could continue. I know that after reading it and writing it, his friend, his best friend, Jessica, spends paragraph 9 yelling to the mountain. So I hope that the mountain does not yell back, but she's so excited. So again, I tell you the where and I tell you the evidence, but I tell you where it is in the middle. I'm just working my way through. Um, I'm going to use quotations this time just so you can see different ways. Dan and Chris. The exact words. Already had their arms above their heads and were giving high five to each other over and that out just a little bit. If I'm gonna open the quote, close the quote, and then let you know where I found that in paragraph 10. And so I can have some variety, I'll say in last paragraph, his friends on Janine, telling the reader about their personalities. How do they show their excitement? As you can say something like, Jonathan's friends, the answer could be, Jonathan's friends are very excited about the ride, and they show their emotions in different ways. Be another way to put that. Uh, Jonathan's friends, Ivan and Janine, were laughing eagerly, very loudly. Add a little bit if you want, but like laughing hyenas. Because everybody else uses the exact words, and so how can you spice it up a little bit? I can go ahead and use similes because I can imagine that there's a saying, and that's a simile, and for some reason I've never heard a hyena laugh, but that's basically what it would look like in both multiple choice, practicing the open-ended format, and then switching to open-ended. And so for all of you who are in the Crest online training, uh, I sent this passage to you as part of your email. Um, and the link to this video, for those of you that would just watch, you might have the multiple choice part of the test. And so you can do the same thing that I did and have the kids practice uh, open-ended by going to the evidence, the EVER, and then make sure you're focused on the question and then take time to answer the question that's being asked. So hope you like that. Please do me a favor and share or tag your reading and writing teacher friends for a way on how to teach both multiple choice in a mini open-ended format by covering up the answers, and to do actual open-ended short answer, because the way to get the two is the answer and the evidence equals a 2, as long as you're responding to the topic, the prompt that's being asked about, with correct evidence. God bless you guys. Do me a favor and like the video on Facebook, and as well as my YouTube page, since this is a link from there. And uh, go ahead and click subscribe so that whenever I do post videos, it'll notify you once I post a new one, so that you can um, be able to follow. If you have any questions, feel free to email me there in the upper right hand corner at writing_doctor@yahoo.com. Uh, if you've gone to any of my trainings this year, then when you go to my website there, anything you see is free for you who have done trainings. Or if you go to my Teachers Pay Teachers called The Right Prescription, that's my store, then anything you see there is free as well. The rest of you, the ideas here are free, but I suggest that maybe you get the folders or the graphic organizers, or you possibly get the Crest online training, because that's a very reasonable price. For $100, then you would get to have uh, about 30, 40 hours of practice learning how to do the short answer responses and the extended essay responses at the same time. So uh, this is kind of an ongoing training to help those teachers I am going to have a live uh, training. Just let me know if you watched this far. I'm going to have a live and in-person training here in the Rio Grande Valley, probably either on a Friday and a Saturday or on 2 consecutive Saturdays. I just need you to let me know in the comment section which would be better for you. At the same time, it's going live. What I'll do is I'll have it recorded on Zoom so that those of you who can attend in person can watch it online. So I would imagine that it might be better to do it on consecutive Saturdays where I can find time where I'm not already doing trainings, and I'll let you know so you can have some chance to sign up. God bless you guys and have a great day.